Well, I'd like to talk about an alternative, a global economy whose purpose is the well-being of all, including all life on the planet. Next, please. Well-being, there are many indices of well-being. This is one of them by the New Economics Foundation, and it shows the happier countries in green, the middling ones in yellow, and the least happy in brown. And it's no surprise that there's no relationship there between economic wealth and well-being. You can see that some of the Caribbean area countries, which are relatively poor, have high levels of well-being. And similarly, over here in the southeast, the Philippines and that area. And some of the unhappy places are surprising, some are obvious, like sub-Saharan Africa. So the concept we need to focus on is well-being. That should be the purpose of the economy. Next, please. So I believe that we first have to understand the system, see it clearly, and that patching it up, addressing symptoms won't work. It requires a whole system, radical approach, and it needs to engage everyone, as many as possible, 7 billion people of us. It requires democracy that's inclusive, participatory, represents our full diversity, and is collaborative, not as it is now, particularly in the UK, where you have people shouting at each other, behaving badly in the House of Commons. It's a disgrace which has turned people off in very large numbers. We need different values, a new identity, balance of feminine, I think would be a great benefit to us. The alternative that I see is the great transition to a well-being economy as put forward by the New Economics Foundation. It's a double win, it's a way out of depression, and it's a way out of the environmental catastrophe. It's been well described in Prosperity Without Growth by Tim Jackson and Lester Brown's Plan B, Mobilizing to Save Civilization. And the green economy needs to be localized, bioregionalized. The term has been used, globalisation. I think Nixon invented that word phrase. And make global trade the exception. And then there's this FEAT index, which is foreign exchange, I'm forgetting what the other E stands for. But it's an index of you export the things that have the least cost to transport them, low weight, low bulk. And we need sovereignty and security. Now I'm saying things that have been common to many, many of the previous societies. And it's all focused on creating a good society, providing opportunity, education, health, good work. And it will cost us less, because there'll be so much less stress and unemployment. And I've already said we need new values that are not about stuff, power and status, but about fulfillment and joy. And we have to have a one world value. And it does mean, as far as I understand it, that we're going to have to contract in more prosperous countries. Not necessarily contract in well-being, not at all. And the less prosperous, that's the convergence part. And how are we going to do that? Well, I think one of the most likely ways, which I mentioned earlier today, was Ross Jackson's Guyana League. That's one of the promising ways. And I've already mentioned the global carbon tax. Next, please. Here are some new ideas for a sustainable, more equal society. Reform money, debt money for profit. Earlier, I think I had said that 95% of our money is created out of debt for profit by the banks. Debt money makes everything cost more, and only the central bank should issue currency. That's apart from local currency. And we need investment banks, foreign banks, national banks, regional banks, local banks, and community banks, cooperative banks. Can I go on? We need to have a carbon tax to deal with the 90% of transactions that have no economic value at all. We need to tackle excessive top pay, have transparent pay ratios, supervisory boards representing all the stakeholders in the company. We need to have more shareholders. And we need a citizen's income, a right for everyone, including students and pensioners. It will end the humiliation of benefit, and it will be an income from the combined contributions of all citizens. And it can be sourced. One way of doing it is through a land value tax. And again, it will cost less in all probability because there will be less administration involved in all the benefits that attempt to alleviate the consequences of the kind of economic system we have now. And taxation needs to be reformed, subsidies and accounting, so that we reward the sustainable enterprise and work, and we tax harms. And we have a carbon tax, a land value tax, tolling tax. We end avoidance and evasion, and GNP is no longer the real measure of wealth. And as has been said by many people earlier, we need to reduce military arms expenditure and spend it instead on resolving conflict. Very little money goes into searching or resolving conflict. Most of it is actually in violence. Now there's some pictures here of sort of symbolic of the kind of world I think we need to move towards. You can see those are green sustainable communities. One of them is particularly well known in England, and that is BedZ in London. That's the one on the bottom left, but there are others emerging. We also need, let's see the next one, sustainable cities. That's Holland. We need that everywhere. Next one, please. And that's my back garden. That's growing our local food. We are able to feed ourselves right through the summer with almost all the vegetables. Next, please. And how to make it happen, include all the 193 nations. I think I'm now repeating some of the things I said earlier, but that is not an adversarial circle. That is like we have in our British House of Commons. And we need fully represented, fair voting, people involved, people feel listened to, instead of thoroughly disengaged. And if we're going to avoid catastrophe, we need collaboration, not shouting each other. Next, please. And that's, everyone needs to take on this quote by Alice Walker, activism is my rent for living on the planet. I think we'll leave it there. Used up my time. Thank you. Thank you.